Today, I'm going to be settling a debate I've been hearing on the internet recently and been thinking about ever since I left Epic Universe. What really is the best dark ride in Florida? In fact, what is the best dark ride in the entire world? Is it the immersive and insanely impressive trackless dark ride, Rise of the Resistance, the thrilling, fun masterpiece that is Battle at the Ministry, or is it the scary, intense ride that is Monsters Unchained? Well, I guess we have to find out. However, I need to first tell you which categories these attractions will be competing in. Those categories are Immersion, Queue, Animatronics, Story, Screen Usage, Fun, Operations, Uniqueness, and Impressive. Each of these categories are important in their own right. What I look for in a dark ride is primarily immersion. So let's dive into this and see which of these three world-class attractions is the best in that. Let's start with Rise of the Resistance, as it's the only ride I haven't reviewed on my channel yet. I'm going to begin by saying this ride doesn't just immerse you through the ride, it immerses you throughout the land, queue, and ride itself. So that's already a plus. Everything about this attraction is immersive. Now let's go over how consistent it is with that immersion. And I'm just going to say, the ride absolutely never lets up in that department. There is not one scene in the queue or the ride that makes you think, I'm on a ride, which is probably where the ride shines. However, our next ride actually has a very small, but definitely noticeable issue with it. Monsters Unchained. By no means is this ride not immersive. It is on the levels of Rise of the Resistance when it is an immersive scene, but that's the issue. It isn't always consistently immersive. I mainly say this because of one scene in specific near the beginning of the ride. As you turn away from Dracula, you spend the next 5 to 7 seconds just staring at a blank black curtain that barely blends in because of all the flashing lights that definitely remind you that you are definitely on a ride and not just living the story. However, that is only a slight nitpick and just barely takes away from the attraction itself at all. Now let's head to our last ride of the category, Battle at the Ministry. This ride is just like Rise, immerses you throughout the land, queue, and attraction itself. There's not even one tiny part where you do not feel like you're in Harry Potter. This ride keeps up the immersion even better than Rise though, and just makes you feel more like you are truly a part of the attraction, unlike anything else in the world. So yes, the first point will be going to Battle at the Ministry, making the score Battle at the Ministry 1, Rise, and Monsters 0. Let's head to another key factor to an attraction, the queue. This is the section before you get onto the actual ride itself that truly begins the experience. These are areas that immerse you before you even board the ride, so that later, once you actually do board the ride, you've already been transported into another world completely. I'm going to start with Monsters Unchained on this one. This queue is incredible from the manner to the little details in each room. It is truly incredible. Every room you go through just gives this ominous vibe and makes you question your decision to sign up for this experiment. It truly is incredible for what it is. However, monsters aren't really something I've ever had a connection with, so I may not enjoy this queue as much as someone who's loved these classic monsters for years. But there are animatronics that are incredible. How even if they are the best animatronics of any of these queues, it's probably not enough to make it up to some of the other scenes in these next queues. Now we're going to head over to Rise. This queue is so incredible, and I feel more connected to it, as I have loved Star Wars for years, which allowed me to enjoy this queue more whenever I'm just inside of a random hallway or something. I understood every scene, I knew every character, and I was able to feel more connected to each scene. However, this queue does have the least impressive animatronics of any of these three queues. Am I saying they aren't impressive? Abso-freaking-lutely not. But I am saying they are a large step down from these other two rides. But this ride does have an amazing queue at the end of the day, and it's hard to choose between it and Monsters. However, the next ride, no debate, is the best, and you probably assumed I would say that. Battle at the Ministry destroys each of these queues in every aspect. And honestly, even if it has the least animatronics in the queue, it truly doesn't matter in the slightest. This queue alone is enough to make you satisfied with your Epic Universe trip, more than any other queue on the planet. This made me feel like I truly was in a completely different magical world. Ministry 2, Rise and Monsters 0. Let's now discuss the story of each attraction. And just so you know, don't click off the video. Ministry doesn't completely smack the other two in this aspect. In fact, I feel this category is basically dead even between each of them. Every one of the stories is easy to follow, and I understand what's happening and why for each scene, which funnily enough is kind of a hot take for Monsters Unchained. I'm not going to go into each of the rides categories and just call it a three-way tie. And a tie equals half a point, so finally, Rise and Monsters are on the scoreboard. even if Ministry also gets those points. Woohoo! Anyway, the score is now 2.5 Ministry, 0.5 Monsters, and Rise. We are now going to do Animatronics. This is where Rise of the Resistance gets cooked by both fairly easily. Being fair though, both Monsters and Ministry are far newer, but at the end of the day, even if it was earlier on, Rise still can't compare, so it is completely out of the question. However, it is a tough decision between Monsters and Ministry. To me, it's quantity or quality, as the animatronics on Ministry are better. They move faster and just look more natural, but Monsters has a lot more animatronics, so it's truly down to what you're looking for. My choice for this is, sorry, don't click off the video, Battle at the Ministry, bringing it to 3.5 points. But don't crash out. I decided because it was so close, I will also give Monsters a point, making it 3.5 for Ministry, 1.5 Monsters, and 0.5 Rise of the Resistance. We now enter the operations section. You probably don't believe me, but I don't think this is dominated by Ministry. In fact, this is the first and probably only time it's placed at number 3. That's probably a breath of fresh air. Now let's see who's better and claims first between Monsters and Rise. Rise runs many vehicles at once, allowing lots of people to be on the ride at once, which is of course amazing for capacity. However, Monsters has some of the best operations in the entire world. It is a continuously moving loading station. It's the only of these 3 rides with it, so sorry Disney fanboys, but Rise is losing again. However, I guess I'll give it a point so that it can get a couple more points, making the score 3.5 Ministry, 2.5 Monsters, 1.5 Rise. We now enter a category that is a little unfair but is still very important to me, Uniqueness. Monsters the same style as Forbidden Journey, only down the street, while Rise is a trackless dark ride, which we've seen many of. Deciding which is more unique is kind of hard because the Kuka Arm model has less rides out there. However, even if Rise is a more popular model, it's pretty different from any other trackless dark ride in the world, so I will reward both of them 0.5 points. Here we are, back to making everyone mad though, because Battle at the Ministry wins this category, no questions asked. It is unlike any other ride in the world, and as everyone says, it's so weird and unique, it's hard to even explain what it feels like. So this point definitely goes to Ministry, making the score 4.5 Ministry, 3 Monsters, 2 Rise. We now ask the question, which of these rides are the most impressive? I don't want to make anyone crash out, so I'm just going to get it over with. The scale and effects on Ministry are unlike anything else in the world, and nothing can compare. It takes the point. But let's see who wins between Monsters and Rise. I'm going to just say it right now, I'll definitely give this to Rise. The scale is only second to Battle at the Ministry and nothing else. And it also has some amazing effects that I still can't wrap my head around. There are no moments on Monsters where I'm like, how on earth did they do that? So I will reward Rise with half a point, making the score 5.5 Ministry, 3 Monsters, and 2 Rise. We now come to our second to last category and debatably the most important, fun. Rise has amazing effects and makes you truly feel like you're in an action movie, which I mean, that clearly means it's pretty darn fun. Monsters is fun in a different way though, combining jump scares with thrilling movements to keep you interested the whole time. Ministry gives you unknown sensations, makes you feel unbelievably immersed, and each scene is on such a large scale you can't help but have a huge smile on your face. Plus, the soundtrack just adds to the magic of the ride so much. This is becoming a common theme, but Ministry wins. While it's a draw between Monsters and Rise, making the score Ministry 6.5, Monsters 3.5, and Rise 2.5. We have made it to our final category, screen usage. When there's screens on the ride, it could ruin a scene, or if it's used well, I could not care less. So let's start with Monsters Unchained. Each screen is very well integrated into the environment and very high quality. Absolutely some of the best screens on any attraction. Rise is very similar to Monsters here, but is debatably incorporated into the scenes even better. While Ministry uses screens so well, they are so high quality, you can't tell what's a screen or not, you move with the screen so well, each screen is all you can see and nothing else around you can break the immersion. So what can I say, but here we go again. Battle at the Ministry wins, gaining yet another point. I will also give both Monsters and Rise half a point. So now let's see the final scores. In first place, yep, we can hurry this up. It's obviously Battle at the Ministry with 7.5 points. best screens on any ride, best animatronic collection, best queue, insanely comfortable, most immersive attraction in the world. What else can you say? Ministry is just too good. But I decided because Ministry kinda cooked, I wonder what won between Monsters and Rise. So I'll now go back and see who won between Rise and Monsters in each category. I'll tell you who I prefer. For Immersion, I'll go Rise. For Q, I'll say it's a tie, probably. Animatronics, I definitely give it to Monsters, as I was talking about earlier. Impressive, I go Rise. Fun, Monsters. Screen usage, tie. Story, tie. Uniqueness, tie. Operations, Monsters. So the final score comes out to be 4-5. Monsters Unchained has snagged the number 2 spot and pushed Rise down. It is insanely close, though. We have now made it to the end, with our final ranking being 3rd, Rise of the Resistance, 2nd, Monsters Unchained, and 1st, by a landslide, Battle at the Ministry. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't be mad if you do not agree with specific opinions. It is my opinion, which after all is obviously right and yours is wrong otherwise. Only kidding, only kidding. But truly, these are 3 of the best attractions ever built, and I don't see any of them falling out of my top 10 attractions anytime soon. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on Ministry of Coasters. Bye!